Mom, hey mom, wake up. I was suddenly shaken awake, my eyes barely open to see my daughter's anxious face looming in my blurry vision. Slowly, I sat up and asked her, "What's wrong? Did you have a nightmare?" "No, Mom, please. We need to run away from Dad now, hurry." With that single word, my groggy mind snapped to alertness. What followed was a shocking revelation from my daughter that left me dumbfounded. My name is Sarah. I'm a 35-year-old ordinary woman who works while raising my 7-year-old daughter, Emily. Our precious gem is not only adorable, but a bit unusual, or rather, has some mysterious aspects. Mom, you're forgetting your umbrella. Despite the weather forecast for the day being partly sunny with clouds, I was stopped by my daughter as I was about to leave the house. "It's fine. There's only a 10% chance of rain today." "But Mom, you're going to get soaked. I saw it in a dream. Please take an umbrella with you." Reluctantly, I took the umbrella she handed me and headed to work. Lo and behold, I encountered a sudden downpour just before I was about to return home. I was surprised and came home drenched, only to be proudly greeted by my daughter, whose umbrella was also wet on the stand. "Welcome home, Mom. See, it happened just like I said." Emily has had this slight mysterious power since she was very young, accurately predicting the weather and dinner menus. It might be an exaggeration to call it a precognitive ability, but it's unusual. She sometimes feels out of place because of this, especially when playing with friends, but she doesn't seem to mind. Above all, we, her family, have accepted this as part of her uniqueness, and she's otherwise a perfectly normal, adorable girl. What concerns me more is my husband, Mike, who is the same age as me. We met through a marriage agency. Back then, I was a hard-working career woman, successful but inexperienced with relationships. Urged by my impatient parents, I registered with the agency. It might be odd for a wife to say, but Mike was even more handsome back then and instantly charmed me. Moreover, he was a feminist, and I instantly fell in love. Our relationship quickly progressed with marriage in mind. My husband and I have been married for 10 years this year. He always comes home late these days. Emily is only 7 years old, and she still requires a lot of care. Juggling her care, household chores, and work without Mike's help has been overwhelming. Everything costs money these days, and we need to save as much as we can for Emily's sake. You never know what might happen, so I'm working hard. That's what he said when I asked him about it. I can't argue with him when he says it's for Emily's sake. I've been overwhelmed with work, household chores, and solo parenting. Then one day, Mike came home early, looking extremely tense. Sensing the mood, I sent Emily away before asking, "What's wrong? Did something happen?" "I want to quit my job," he said. It was completely unexpected. After putting Emily to bed, we talked, and it turned out he'd been struggling with workplace relationships and no longer found his job fulfilling, making it a pain to go to work. "Don't blame me, I just can't take it anymore. Once things settle down, I'll find another job right away. Until then, I'll take care of everything at home," he explained. I didn't want him to quit, but forcing him could lead to worse outcomes. Reluctantly, I agreed to his request. Before long, I got serious about my job, and my husband became a stay-at-home dad. His way of doing household chores and cooking was, to put it mildly, a bit sloppy compared to when I did them. What particularly bothered me was the meals. I came home around 9 o'clock at night when my daughter went to bed and ate my husband's homemade food. But there was a lot of fried food, and the seasoning was surprisingly strong, so I always needed water. The first time I ate it, I couldn't help but confront him. "What is this? You didn't feed the same thing to our daughter, did you?" No, I made sure to prepare something with lighter flavors for the kid, and I kept the portions appropriate. I thought you'd appreciate something with a bit more flavor after a long day. Too much fried food, not enough vegetables, and the soup barely tastes like anything. I'd be fine with lighter seasoning for kids, and I wish you paid more attention to balancing the meals, I complained. Despite my repeated comments, the seasoning and menu hardly changed. If I tried to leave anything uneaten, he'd say, "I'll save it for our daughter to eat tomorrow." That's a joke. I'd rather eat it myself than let our daughter have it. Reluctantly, I finished my meal, and as an apology, he started offering dessert after dinner. He also began preparing a nightly drink and snack, calling it a nightcap, thinking it would please me. I hadn't been much of a drinker or late-night snacker before, but I couldn't outright reject his kindness. I appreciated his efforts in cooking and his attempts at being a good house husband, so I generally turned a blind eye, enjoying the break from household chores. About 6 months into my role as the primary breadwinner, I finally had a day off with absolutely no plans. However, I felt off from the morning and lay down feeling foggy. Lately, I've been feeling lethargic without any fever and suffering from headaches. I fall asleep right after eating. Maybe I've been overdoing it at work. Luckily, my husband took our daughter out to a nearby large shopping mall, promising to contact me if anything came up. Grateful for his thoughtfulness, allowing me some much-needed rest, I was dozing off. I'm back. I woke up to the sound of the front door and my husband's voice. I realized it was already evening. I had slept through the day without having lunch since before noon. Welcome back. Sorry, honey, I couldn't play with you today. Did you have fun? I asked our daughter, holding a palm-sized character mascot she must have gotten while out. But she nodded quietly, looking down, unlike her usual self. I tilted my head, puzzled by her unusual behavior. What's wrong? Did something happen? Maybe she's just tired from walking around all day. You should take a shower and rest early, okay? My husband gently placed his hand on our daughter's shoulder, and she nodded slightly before heading to her room. When she was out of sight, I quietly asked my husband, "Hey, she seemed a bit off. Did you scold her or something?" "No, I didn't do anything. I think she's just tired. Anyway, about dinner." I tensed up at his words. I was frankly fed up with his cooking. "You know I'll cook tonight. I've had a restful day and feel energized." "Oh, okay. Then I'll prepare the nightcap. I even bought dessert as usual," he smiled, lifting a bag that clearly had the logo of a famous cream puff shop. "Let's make tonight's meal low-calorie and nutritious." Later, we had dinner together and decided to sleep together for the first time. Though she smiled when it was just the two of us, I could tell she was anxious and wanted to spend as much time together as possible. "Mom, I have something to say." In the privacy of our bedroom, wrapped in blankets, my daughter whispered in a voice so faint I almost missed it. What is it?" "Please don't drink any alcohol tonight," she said. What could this be? Another instance of her slight precognitive ability? Nodding in response to my daughter's serious gaze, she closed her eyes, seemingly reassured. So before my husband could prepare our nightcap, I went to bed and decided to sleep early. Surely he wouldn't go as far as to wake me up for a drink. If he tries to wake me, I'll just pretend to be asleep. With that thought in mind, I closed my eyes. "Mum, hey Mum, wake up." I was suddenly shaken awake, my eyes barely opened to see my daughter's anxious face looming in my blurry vision. I realized I had actually fallen asleep, my vision blurry as my daughter's anxious face came into view. Checking the bedside clock, I saw it was 2 a.m., and I noticed my husband, who should have been sleeping next to me, was absent. Maybe he went to the bathroom. Slowly sitting up, I asked her, "What's wrong? Did you have a nightmare?" "No, Mom, please. We need to run away from Dad now, hurry." That single word snapped me out of my grogginess. What did she just say? I asked her quietly, still in shock. Why? Why would you say that? This is our chance while Dad's not here. Because if we don't, something bad's going to happen to you, Mom, like getting sick or an accident, she explained urgently. What do you mean? I stared dumbfounded. My daughter, unable to hold back any longer, started to cry. Holding her in my lap and gently stroking her trembling back, she gradually calmed down and began to speak. According to her, while returning from the restroom at the mall, she overheard her dad on the phone. Having always been told not to interrupt when someone is on the phone, she approached quietly. Dad was saying, "Just a little longer, and she'll be gone," planning to make it look like an accident or illness. "Once that's done, we can be together with the insurance money." "Who was he talking to?" I asked, shaken. "I don't know. At first, I thought it was you, Mom, but it wasn't because Dad. He was saying bad things about you, and he said, 'I love you' to the person." My daughter was sobbing. If this was true, my husband was planning to send me to my demise. Besides, my husband is having an affair, my daughter continued. "He said, 'I love you' to someone, not Mom," she added. I was so shocked. I accidentally called out to Dad. Then Dad immediately ended the call and asked, "How long have you been there?" When I said, "Just now," he smiled and said, "Let's keep this our little secret from Mom. If you don't tell, you'll get a new kind and sweet mom." Tears and snot streamed down her face as she clung to me. "But I want you. I don't need another mom. I love you so much," she wailed, clinging to me. In that moment, I felt an overwhelming sense of guilt for putting her through this and anger towards my husband. My daughter had braved her fears to protect me from her own father. How scared she must have been, how much courage she must have needed. Afterwards, holding my daughter, we went downstairs to the entrance. The moment I noticed my husband's favorite shoes were missing, any slight trust I had in him vanished alongside my daughter's words. According to her, this wasn't the first time he had left in the middle of the night. She had seen him leave several times when going to the bathroom. How had I never noticed before, even in deep sleep? If my daughter rarely wakes up at night and had seen him leave multiple times, it must have been frequent. My daughter was gripping the hem of my dress tightly. Her actions made me realize there was no time to doubt my husband. That's right. This is not the time for that. I need to respond to my daughter's courage, I thought. Perhaps because I hadn't drunk any alcohol, I felt more alert and clear-headed than usual. Looking into my daughter's eyes, I said, "Emily, if we run away from Dad now, we might never see him again. Will you still come with me?" "Yes, I'm scared of Dad." "I want to be with you, Mom," she replied, her voice filled with determination. "I want to stay with you forever," she said. "All right, I made up my mind." Fortunately, my daughter was in the middle of her summer vacation. I told her to pack what she needed, and I quickly packed our bags as well. Then I was stunned as I checked the contents of the drawer where I kept our valuables. Opening another drawer that I rarely opened, my suspicion was confirmed. A surge of anger rose within me, but for now, leaving was the priority. We hurriedly left the house before dawn and decided to seek refuge at my parents' house. My parents were surprised to see us arrive so early in the morning, but they kindly welcomed us. After showing them what I found just before leaving and explaining what my daughter had told me, after the day had fully dawned, I sent a casual message. "Mom got hurt. I'm taking my daughter to help out for about a month or so. Please take care of the house while we're gone. Got it? Leave everything here to me." He was surprisingly calm about his daughter and wife disappearing overnight. Clearly, he must be smirking, thinking he can now do as he pleases alone. I'll lay low for now, but I won't let this go for my daughter's sake. As soon as we arrived at my parents' house, my daughter, still with tear stains on her cheeks, fell asleep. Looking at her sleeping face, I made a certain phone call. About a month after taking refuge at my parents' house, I decided to return home, leaving my daughter with my mom. Entering the living room after unlocking the door, my smartphone in my chest pocket, my husband, who had been holding his head in front of his smartphone, gave me a forced smile, as if nothing had happened. "Oh, welcome back. Don't just come back suddenly like that. You surprised me. How about I make you a nice iced coffee with lots of milk and sugar?" If it were the old me, I might have been deceived, but not today. I don't need it. Instead, I want you to write this. I confronted my husband, who was about to head to the kitchen, with divorce papers. He sighed deeply after glancing at them. "Divorce, huh? Well, if that's what you really want, I'll agree." His reaction was expected, but it infuriated me. He casually accepted it with a smile. "I'll agree to the divorce since you're the one asking for it. But you'll meet my demands for the settlement, right?" "What are you talking about?" "You're the one who'll be paying." My husband looked puzzled. He shook his head unwillingly, with a forced smile. "Come on, I've been supporting you in my way, and now you're handing me divorce papers unilaterally? A good husband, the kind that skips work for affairs and plans to put his wife in danger. What are you talking about? I couldn't help but snort at his dumbfounded face. I pulled out a small bottle filled with pills from a drawer I hardly use and showed it to him. The label read, "For stubborn insomnia. 1 pill for a good night's sleep." That's it. I bought it because I couldn't sleep well. It's obvious if you look at it. The amount hasn't decreased since I left. I'd opened and took pictures of everything before I left. Want me to compare? Don't talk nonsense. Besides, where's the proof that I gave those to you? Everything you've been doing with your mistress. I know all about it, I said, returning to my seat with the bottle in hand. Pulling an envelope from my bag and spilling its contents, my husband froze in shock. No wonder those were printouts of messages he had sent to his mistress. It says things like, "I'm skipping work to see you. Wait for me. I quit my job so we can talk more. Love you. I've got something that'll make sure she won't wake up. I can visit you during that. Think we can be together soon. Wait for me, my princess." He sent this kind of message. Every lie about working late and his plans to make my demise look like an accident or illness were detailed. Thinking back, the meals he prepared for me were high in salt, fat, and even sugary desserts. It's no wonder my health declined. Plus, he probably tampered with my drinks while I took a shower. I didn't drink often, so I didn't notice. But when I drank the same thing at my parents' house, the difference in taste was shocking and confirmed my suspicions. I started feeling unusually tired after beginning to eat your meals. I never felt refreshed despite falling asleep quickly. No wonder, with alcohol and these pills mixing, them is the worst. Imagine what could have happened, I said, watching as my husband's face turned pale and his eyes darted around. That's how come you have this stuff. Don't tell me you snooped through my phone. That's a violation of privacy, he accused. No, I got it from her, your mistress, I said, flipping over a second envelope to show him. His face went white. No wonder. The scattered photos showed him getting cozy with a young woman right after returning to my parents' house, believing my daughter's words.